All right, welcome everybody. We're glad that you're here for today's webinar on the topic Peak Leadership and Marketing Strategies to Succeed in Today's Competitive Market. My name is David and I get a chance to be your webinar host and moderator today. Today we have two experts, two gurus of the mortgage world. We've got Jeff Bush, the mortgage marketing guru from overflowworks.com. We've also got Dale Vermillion. Dale's mortgage trainer, champion of mortgage executives for the last couple of decades, and he's been a great mentor to me, and it's just such a pleasure and such an honor to be able to interview these two experts on topics specifically designed for today's mortgage executive who's looking at succeeding and thriving in the fourth quarter and into 2018. So without any further ado, we're excited to kick things off. If you just joined us, we're having everybody throw in the chat feature where they're joining us from. So if you want to throw in your city and state, we'd sure appreciate you letting us know where you're joining us from. Today's webinar is going to be fast-paced. It's going to be 45 minutes long. We're excited to go through just a myriad of different topics that we think are just critical to success and peak performance in the fourth quarter and beyond of 2017 into 2018. A lot of these strategies are going to be something of a reminder, but also something that's maybe new and innovative in the marketing world or the sales training world, or just in your own personal and professional growth in the area of executive growth. And so if you're joining us here and you're looking for innovation, you will not be disappointed in today's strategies and tactics. We're going to be talking about marketing to kick things off. Everybody's interested in generating more quality incoming leads, higher ROI on their marketing dollars. And then we're going to really start to solidify with some of the fundamentals of peak performance, your people strategy, how you're creating an environment or culture of peak performance, how to set standards. Maybe you've already had some standards, but maybe you need to elevate those standards. And just really understanding the know-how to improve and accomplish high-level success inside the mortgage marketplace. So to kick things off, we're going to interview Jeff Bush. Jeff is the president and founder of overflowworks.com. He's got 20 years of direct marketing experience, over 1 billion pieces of direct mail for the top mortgage companies in the U.S. He's also owned a mortgage banking company, so he speaks from experience, and he's also got a tremendous amount of experience in consulting large mortgage companies on their performance and improving the outcome of the inbound call. So Jeff, welcome to today's webinar.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for setting us up and having me.
You bet. Well, we're excited to jump right in and talk a little bit more about the marketing, but give everybody a general overview of your expertise and how you've come to work with some of the top mortgage companies in the country for lead generation.
Well, kind of a soup to nuts philosophy on direct mail. I mean, we have 3 full-time artists that create the direct mail pieces, and about 80% of our business is in the mortgage industry. So we've done tens of millions of letters and envelopes, designs. So creating the mail piece, pulling the data is so crucial. Whether you're going to go to the credit bureau and get data, or CoreLogic, Black Knight, public records, or go to internet leads, we actually pull and sell the data, clean it up, and then we do our in-house direct mail production. We do some email marketing, some digital marketing. Our toll-free numbers track the phone calls, record the phone calls to help improve conversions, and then reporting at the very end. Hey, what was our cost per funded loan on our advertisement? So we kind of do start to finish on the whole direct mail, strategy.
Yeah. Well, I know that everybody is, excited about trying to find out, what is the most effective mortgage marketing strategy in terms of ROI. And you've got a couple of differing thought processes on what makes the most effective marketing strategy. Talk a little bit more about what you're seeing, because you're doing marketing and internet lead generation, you're doing direct mail, you're doing call center, live call transfers. I mean, you've done so many different things to generate high quality incoming leads, Jeff. What's the most effective?
Well, I think in direct marketing and lead generation, it all comes down to the list and the offer. So we work really hard on finding new mailing lists that are not saturated. The mortgage business is interesting that there's only so many homeowners in America that can benefit from a refi. And once you narrow in on that audience, if there's 20 companies out there mailing to them and they're getting, 5, 10, 20 letters in the mail every month, your job is to try to go find some new data and make a stronger offer than what everybody else is mailing. I met a guy who signed the Quicken Loans contract to mail 100 million direct mail pieces for the next year. So Quicken Loans is mailing 100 million pieces. If they're paying 50 cents a piece, it's $50 million a year on direct mail. So we know that's one of the competitors out there you're going to be up against in the mailbox. So what interest rate are they advertising? What product? What are they saying on the letter? What's the design, the envelope? What data are they mailing to? We just try to go in and find the best list, and sometimes not always the best list, just a different list that not everybody else is mailing to try to lift response. Kind of that niches to riches philosophy in the mortgage business.
Well, Jeff, there's a lot of different niches that you can be marketing right now. What's the most effective marketing or direct mail mortgage marketing that you're seeing in terms of the product type?
We're still doing a ton of FHA, VA mail just because of the ability to do streamlines, no appraisal, no income, no FICO. It's a high response borrower. They tend to refinance often. They need, an extra $100, $200, $300 a month makes a big difference in their lives financially. So, I'd say a big portion of the mail that we're doing is still FHA, VA. Even though rates have creeped up a little bit, the FHA borrower, a lot of them have equity. They can get out of their mortgage insurance. They can take a little cash out to pay some credit cards off. VA, back to 100% cash out refi. So we're still getting, pretty low cost per funded loan on FHA, VA, and those loans tend to be a little more profitable. Selling Govy loans, you can make a little bit extra revenue on them, another half a point or a point. We're still doing a little bit of HARP, a little bit of reverse mortgage, some radical changes from HUD in the last 30 days that's making it a little tougher on reverse mortgage. And then conventional, we still have some successful conventional campaigns, but a little higher on the cost per funded loan side.
Are you encouraging people to diversify, Jeff, or is it, one of those things where you're just having them, leverage a specific particular product mix and going after like FHA?
I encourage my clients to try, FHA, VA, and conventional. They're all completely different borrowers, different loan programs. I guess if you have a niche, if you're a big VA lender and you have a very low rates and fees and you do a ton of VA loans and all your loan officers are schooled on talking to veterans, you might lean heavily into VA, but I encourage my clients to have three different things working, a little bit of FHA, VA, and a little bit on the conventional side. I like some diversification just in case somebody makes radical changes like they just made on reverse mortgages. I think there's some changes coming down the pike on VA. I'd love to have three different direct mail campaigns working so my phones never shut off, or if a program changes, I'm not having to stop abruptly and start over. So those three.
That's great. Well, you and your executive team have really been kind of putting pen to paper on, some of the things that are happening in the marketplace. And, we have a limited amount of time to discuss marketing in this particular webinar, but you've got 10 mistakes in mortgage direct mail that you see consistently happening that's just, wasting marketing dollars. Talk to us about the top 5, and we'll get everybody the list of the other 5 after the webinar. But walk through these with us and share why you think that these specific mistakes can be corrected and improving results.
Yeah, so number 1 on the list, not testing different letters and formats. A lot of big mortgage direct mailers, I noticed they get a little lazy. They find a good letter and it works, for the first month or for the first 3 months. And then they just get a little lazy and start mailing that same letter over and over for too long a period of time, doing the same letter, the same envelope. We're big on changing, the letters, the envelopes. We move from a letter to a snap pack, a single window envelope to a double window envelope. We call it mail piece fatigue, and mail the same thing over and over. Your response rates go down, and sometimes just showing a new letter with a new offer, different words, different colors can really jump response, sometimes double it. So we're big on changing it up all the time. You got to keep moving,
Yeah. Well, in terms of the different marketplace options, is that there's so much available out there to market to in terms of data sets. Walk us through these different breakdowns in terms of your number 2 mortgage mistake.
This is probably the bigger mistake. It probably should have been flipped to 1, but everything about mortgage direct mail response and conversions about data. And what we find a lot of big mortgage companies, I mean, I'm doing direct mail for 5 out of the top 20 mortgage lenders in America. You know, we went from doing $1 million in sales a year 5 years ago with just me owning this company to we now have 50 employees. We're doing $20 million worth of direct mail. So we're doing something right. And we've moved a lot of clients into new data sets and new mail piece design and offers. So with the data, we find a lot of mortgage companies go to the credit bureau, let's just say Data Mix down in Florida. And all they do is that they think because they're buying data from the credit bureau, they have the best data ever, and nothing's going to respond better. And they might be right in that they have really good data. You have the FICO score, you have revolving debt, you know they have a VA loan with a mortgage balance that's accurate. You have really good data coming out of the credit bureau. Unfortunately, they're selling it 35 times to different lenders, and everybody's mailing the same pool. So I get guys that are mailing 10,000 letters that are only getting 25 phone calls, and they're ignoring all the other data sets that are out there with fresh new names like CoreLogic, Black Knight, Internet Leads. So I usually go into somebody mailing pre-screened data, getting 25 calls, and I can get them 50 calls. I've doubled the response for some of the top mortgage direct mailers in the nation just by changing the data. Again, it's not always better data. It could just be different. And different, if it doubles the response, it's okay if it doesn't convert quite as good and you don't know their FICO score and their credit card debt. You know, we just believe in mailing all 4 sets of data, the CoreLogic, Black Knight, Internet Leads, and pre-screen. They all fit together. And unfortunately, again, people get lazy just thinking I've got the best data from the credit bureau, and that's all they're doing. They should be mixing it up and mailing everything just to make sure they're hitting all the names that are out there for the highest response rate.
Well, Jeff, you've been known as the guru copywriter, and you've hired some expert copywriters that have got the mortgage marketing experience. Talk a little bit more about the copy and changing that up, and then also changing up the color and the style of messages that are out there.
You know, I just read a new book about direct mail advertising solutions, and David Ogilvy was talking about headlines. Different headlines on direct mail can increase the response by, he said, 400%. So if you're mailing the same letter over and over with the same headline statement, you know, just mixing up that offer, you know, skip or defer a mortgage payment, take cash out, refinance to this new low payment, you know, take a vacation. There's so many different headline statements that can lift response. And again, it's just about mail piece saturation. If you only have so much data to mail, you got to change out the offers. So we're big on changing out the letter, what we're saying on the letter, how we say it, what colors we say it, how big we say it. We really like changing up the letter to lift response. And we can usually take somebody's mortgage direct mail letter and rewrite it. Sometimes just changing 25% of it, we can double response rates. So got to test different messages, test black and white versus color. Most of the testing we've done in here shows a black and white, simple, official letter will always outpull a color letter. And it's amazing to me, people still mail color. That Quicken Loans 100 million direct mail pieces is pretty much a black and white letter except for their logos in color, which is interesting. They kind of have learned the same thing I've learned after mailing hundreds of millions of pieces.
Great. Well, I love your quote, Jeff, when you say, you know, it's not what you know that hurts you, it's what you don't know about what you don't know that hurts you. And one of the things that you have talked about over and over again is just people that are assuming that they are getting the certain response rate because that's just the market, because of the saturation. But you've been able to go in there and double the opportunity for conversion on lead generation because of some of these different tactics. Talk a little bit more about the assumptions that people are making in the market.
Well, if somebody's been working with their mail house for a lot of years and signing a contract to get their price down, let's say they're mailing 100,000 letters and they're getting a 0.3, they're getting 300 phone calls. They figure, hey, I've got the best data, I've got a cheap price on mail, I'm buying data from the credit bureau. There's just not going to be anything else out there that's better in response to make it worth me testing another mail house, another printer, another data set. And that's just not a good place to be, where you're not, you know, testing different vendors, different lists, different offers. They think that, hey, a 0.3 response rate is just the best I'm going to get out there. And then we come in and mail, 20,000 pieces and get a 0.6, double the response. So I think you should always be testing different vendors. I encourage my clients to go out and mail with 3 or 4 different direct mail vendors, always testing different things. So.
Well, that leads us right into number 5, Jeff. Do you want to continue on with that and just talk a little bit more about your accountability principles inside of your organization? Because you hold a high standard of performance for your team. Talk a little bit more about this strategy of actually testing other options to actually see if you're getting them the very best response.
Yeah, so 4 kind of definitely I ran into 5, but, track your calls, mail with 3 or 4 different vendors and see who gets you the lowest cost per call and the lowest cost per funded loan. At the end of the day, cost per funded loan is all that matters. I get people that are mailing 100,000 pieces at 45 cents and they come over to me and they pay 55 cents. They pay 20% more for the cost of the mail, but we double their response rate. So it just makes sense to look at everything: cost per funded loan, cost per call. The validity of the calls is important. So it's good to be testing a few different people against each other. Just always keep your mail house on their toes. Make sure you're getting the best ROI on your money.
Yeah, and for those of you that want the other 5 big mortgage direct mail marketing mistakes, go ahead and send an email to this email address. We don't have time to cover all 10 of them right now because we want to talk about a couple other specific strategies as it relates to marketing and lead generation and lead tracking. And Jeff, I know that this is one of the things that you just continue to drive home is tracking and proper tracking. And you've really actually built some reports for some of your big clients to actually help them to come up with the cost per funded loan. So talk a little bit more about the importance of tracking and the ability to actually capture that cost per funded loan.
Well, we code all the mailers and we're a Velocify partner now. We're on their website and their drop down. So if you're using Velocify or Salesforce as a CRM, we can integrate our toll-free phone number for tracking calls and then track actual funded loans, so you can get a cost per funded loan. So yeah, we big on tracking. We've got 300 different toll-free numbers that we're using at all times, testing different letters, different data, different states, different size loan amounts, writing a lot of copy. We've got some clients mailing 15 to 20 different letters every single week, testing one against the other. So big on tracking, big on, not just calls, but, how many loans turn into fundings and figure out where the problems are if they're not turning into funded loans.
Well, one of the tracking mechanisms, Jeff, is this new 4 ways to respond technology, because you are building in the 800 number tracking, you're getting the call recording, you're getting the QR codes, you're getting text tracking, web tracking. You have really hit the home run here, but talk a little bit more about this technology and how it's improving results.
Just letting the homeowner have different ways to respond. You never know if they want to call or they want to go on their personalized website or they want to send a text message. Text is growing, or scan the QR code. So little things like this, hey, instead of getting 40 calls on 10,000, we might get 40 phone calls, 10 text messages, and 5 people visiting the personalized website, and end up with 55 calls instead of 40. So these are all different things. All this data is programmed to the back of this. So when they text you, you get their loan amount, name, address, phone number. If they go to the website, if they scan the QR code, it all drops into kind of a nice little system where you can capture everything. So just trying different things to lift response rates, giving them different ways to respond.
Well, you've also tied back in a lookup system so that when somebody does text, call, visit, you've actually got those PIN numbers where you can actually give the organization the opportunity to do some quick tracking. Talk a little bit more about the PIN and lookup system.
Yeah, if you go to our website here and put in these PIN numbers, every letter has a PIN number on it. So when the homeowner calls in, instead of having to ask their name and the spelling of their name and who's on title and when did you get your loan and how long ago and who's your lender and what's your interest rate, you just put in the PIN number and everything comes up in front of you. So you know who's on title, address, you know the mortgage, who their lender is, when they got their loan. This person's got an adjustable, so it's kind of nice. We have the index, the margin, when the loan goes adjustable. So, it's hard to listen to these phone calls and hear the loan officer asking the homeowner 10 or 12 questions when we can just pop the screen and they can read this off to the homeowner and just confirm. So nice little tool to help. This doesn't help response. It really is based on helping the closing ratio connect with the borrower more. Every direct mail call, you've got the open lien report on the house. You've got an AVM that tells you what it's worth, the comps, right at your fingertips, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people right now that are already thinking about, giving this an opportunity, or even going further and taking that next step, getting the 5 additional mistakes that you were sharing with people about mortgage marketing and the mistakes that people make. Phone number, best number to call, 866-944-4624. Any other details, Jeff, for those people that want to have peak performance in fourth quarter and beyond?
That's it. Just call us. We'll show you our best plan, what got us here and growing and lifting response. We'd love to do some mail for you. We also sell live call transfers. We sell aged internet leads. If you just want to buy some older internet leads that respond pretty well, use our call center. We do some email marketing for our clients. Sometimes we do all 4. We mail them a letter, we call them, we email them, and then do some digital marketing to them too. So we can help in all those areas.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your expertise. And for more information, you guys can visit overflowworks.com. That's Jeff's website, and get more resources. There's also different reports and resources and recordings from previous webinars that we've done. So make sure you save overflowworks.com to your favorites list. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about peak performance management, ownership, leadership techniques and strategies to really thrive in 2018 and beyond. And together we have partnered up with Dale many different times. We share some common passions and peak performance opportunities and ideals. And most of you have heard Dale Vermillion speak and the many different tours that he's done. Maybe your company has brought him in, or maybe you're part of Mortgage Champions, which is a great online training platform. But Dale's been a leader in the mortgage industry for multiple decades. He's trained over 1 million people, and with over 450 different lenders to his client list, he has become the go-to authority for peak performance training, coaching, management, and everything in between. So Dale, it's such a pleasure to be back with you here this afternoon.
David, it's just great to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for the honor and the privilege. Jeff, you never cease to amaze me with the knowledge you have about the market and direct mail and the things you guys can do. So it's really a privilege to be here.
Great. Well, let's jump right into it and talk about building the peak performance sales culture and leadership principles.
Well, and I want to talk about just that, how to manage salespeople. I'm going to start with a story I love to tell about these 2 guys that go to northern Minnesota every year for a duck hunting or a pheasant hunting club that they go to. And the reason they go there is they have this great dog called Salesman. He's like the best hunting dog you've ever met in your life. And year after year after year they come. This dog not only goes out and points the bird, it fetches the bird, it cooks the bird. It's an amazing bird dog. They come for their 11th trip, and the owner says, guys, you're going to pick a different dog this year. And of course, they think the dog died. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Salesman died. He goes, no, he's over in the kennel right here, but you can't take him. They said, why not? They said, well, you just can't. He can't hunt today. You got to pick a different dog. Like, no, you don't understand. This is why we come here. I want that dog. So tell me why we can't take Salesman. He says, look, here's what happened. Yesterday, 2 guys were out hunting with Salesman, and he went to pick up a bird, and one of them accidentally called him sales manager, and all it does is sit on his butt and bark. If you've ever been a salesperson, you probably had a manager like that in your lifetime. I'm sure nobody on this call is like that, but I want you to know that being a great sales leader means not sitting on your butt and barking. It means really directing people powerfully. And I want to teach you how to peak out your leadership abilities. John Quincy Adams said this. He said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, or do more, and then become more, you're a leader. Look, we have to understand, if we're going to talk about leadership today, last time, Dave and Jeff, we talked about sales. And I think this is a good follow-up to that, because no matter how good your salespeople are, if we don't lead them and inspire them and motivate them, then we're not going to get the results we want. It's all about establishing accountability at the end of the day. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But here's what I know, that our job, our role as leaders is a real honor and privilege, because we get to lead people into being successful. We get the responsibility for their careers, their families, and even part of their lives, a big part of their life. So we need to take that seriously. John Maxwell said this. He said, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And what I find a lot of times as I work with leadership all over the country is that a lot of managers know the way. They don't always go the way. Some of them, they've been managing so long, they're not really walking the way they did when they were freshly in that business. They kind of lose their mojo. You got to keep that. Most importantly, the biggest mistake is they don't show the way. Being a leader who leads your people through education, through knowledge, through training, through coaching, through mentoring, through motivation, these are the ones that become the best leaders. And no matter how good our direct mail campaigns are, no matter how much leads we drive in, if we don't manage our salespeople to top performance, we're not going to get it done. So I want to talk about how to peak out your leadership. It starts with the P, which is people. You got to have great people. That's the first thing that it comes down to. And there's 4 things I look for in hiring a sales team. Number 1, it's got to be integrity-based. We know that a mortgage is a major life decision for consumers. It's the largest financial decision they typically make, and therefore they're looking for somebody they can trust. And you know, unfortunately, our industry has had a black eye from the mortgage meltdown and before, that we still are considered by many consumers as not being highly trustworthy people, even though we are. We want to make sure that we have high integrity people that are purpose driven. And I'm going to talk about that purpose in just a minute. We have the wrong purpose sometimes in the mortgage business. I'm going to correct that for you guys in a minute. And they got to be relationship focused and service minded. The bottom line is, if you start with an integrity based, purpose driven, in other words, if your compass, if you're trying to peak out, is geared towards high integrity and high purpose, I am working for a reason. What is that reason? It is to help my customers get a mortgage loan that will impact their family in a powerful way for decades to come. That's an awesome opportunity. If they're driven more towards changing the financial life of the borrower than just providing them a mortgage, they're going to be much better salespeople than today. Why? Because now they're more relationship driven and less transactional. If I were to tell you the number 1 mistake I see as I travel the country watching salespeople today, is that we become a lot of order takers in this business because of the low rate environment we've been in for the last 7 to 8 years, and the fact there's been so many customers to work with. Well, now we're in a changing rate market. Rates are going up. We're headed towards more purchases. Rate and term refis are getting less and less and less. It's now a cash out, debt elimination market. And therefore, you've got to make sure you do a great job. I want to remind everybody of this. In all of history in the mortgage industry, we've never seen a more commoditized market than we do right now. So what does that mean? That means the price and product have never meant less. We're all within 1/8 of each other for all intents and purposes. And 1/8 of a point on a $200,000 loan today is only about $12 a month. So in order to succeed, we have to really focus on not being transactional, because here's the deal. Borrowers can buy from anybody and pay about the same price. They're going to want the best loan officers. We need to have what I call an others first mentality. That's based off my life verse, which is out of the book Philippians chapters 2, 3, and 4, which say, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in all things with humility. Value others above yourself, looking out for their interests, not your own. That's what you want your loan officers to work under, is the mindset that I'm here for one reason. I'm not here to make a big commission. You're going to make that if you do a great job for your customers, because if you focus on your customers, your commissions will be huge. But instead, my focus is to change their life in a powerful way so that I can really provide them not only with the best loan, but the best service in the process. Because we know that in the TRID world we live in today, borrowers hate the process of a mortgage loan. They want somebody who's going to really look out for their best interest, and service, by definition, is literally contributing to the welfare of others. So we want to build a customer for life mindset by not only being high integrity, purpose-driven, helping our customers change their life financially, and relational in the process, but really provide that high level of service. That leads to number 2, environment. You've got to have a powerful sales environment. A couple things you got to have here. High energy, team-based, sales-centered, process efficient, and advocacy position. Now let me touch on each one of these for a minute. High energy. I'm going to ask you all as leaders a question. When you walk your sales floor, is there an energy that is literally making your feet buzz when you're on that sales floor? Because I know that all the top companies I work with, we have the salespeople standing up. They're not sitting down. They've all got standing desks. They've all got those movable desks that allow their monitors to go up. They're standing for most of the day, and they are high energy, super excited. There's incentives going on. There's contests going on. There's things that are happening that create that energy, because high energy creates high production. They also work on what's called a redwood mentality. And what does that mean? That's a team focus. And here's what it means. Redwood trees, which are the oldest and largest and tallest trees in the entire United States that are up in the Northwest Pacific part of the United States live in one of the toughest places for trees to grow because of the weather conditions. So how is a place where it's tough to grow trees, how do they have the biggest trees? Here's how. Because redwood trees are the only trees on the planet where their roots do not grow down, they grow out. And literally what the redwoods do is they interconnect their roots with each other. When a redwood tree gets sick, the healthy trees actually pour nutrients into the sick tree to heal it. It is the perfect picture of teamwork. We are to work as leaders where we work for the good of the team always. The most common question, Dave, that I get from managers is, okay, I got this top producing loan officer, but man, he's just a pain in my rear end, high maintenance, there's always problem, always having issues, always, causing problems. My response is get rid of them. Bring in somebody new, because here's the bottom line. What you got to think about is not what you're going to lose, but what are you going to gain with the other 9 people on the team when that bad apple moves away? Look, here's the fact. You can hire people off the street today to sell mortgage loans because our product's money. That's really all it is. So if I get good people that are highly relational, high integrity, and I train them properly and build a redwood mentality, I build the right teamwork. Vince Lombardi said, success demands singleness of purpose. The achievements of an organization are the combined results of each individual. We've got to get everybody working well, not just some people. And that means we got to be sales-centered and process-efficient both. And I want you to notice something. I combine 2 things that normally aren't combined. Most organizations, I find that sales and processing work at odds with each other. There always is this tension between the two that never should exist. The bottom line is, if we do a great job on the sales side to take a complete application, full documentation, with a full commitment and relationship with the borrower, and hand that file into the processing team that is well done, you're going to have a much more process-efficient team on the backside. So the key to your success in the TRID world and in closing loans fast is sales-centered. Make it all about sales. Don't make it about closings, because sales lead to closings, and loan officers don't control closings. They only control sales. And then build a process-efficient process that gets it moving quickly. And when you do that, be advocacy position. And what that simply means is don't be loan officers, be advocates, sell money, not mortgages. Quit talking about VA, FHA, and USDA because borrowers think USDA is a stake. They don't know that's a mortgage product. Get into the conversations with your customers where you're talking about how you're going to monetarily, financially improve their life, how you're going to help them in a refi, not just lower their payments. Anybody can do that, but actually get them cash out. Actually show them how to reduce their terms and get out of debt sooner. Show them ways to save money up front or increase tax deduction benefits. These are ways that you become a lot more innovative. And on a purchase, show them different down payment alternative options when you're selling a mortgage loan. Don't just take an order take and process what they ask for, but if they are somebody that has no cash reserves, as an example, and they're putting money down on a home, maybe they need to put less money down, have more reserves, and have some money for things like improvements to the home. It's being innovative, not imitative, that creates all the difference. Because as Peter Drucker said, quality in a service or product is not what you put into it, it's what the customer or client gets out of it. That leads to the third thing, accountability. And I said I'd talk about this earlier. Here's the key. You got to build a daily focus that's activity-based. You got to inspect what you expect. So here's what I want all of the leaders to jot down. This is so important. If you're going to be successful. Now, Jeff just talked about a little while ago how you can work with their team to build a powerful direct mail response that's higher than you see out there. Well, here's what I know. It doesn't matter how good your response is if you're handing them salespeople that aren't well prepared, well trained, and well positioned to convert the lead. You got to inspect those leads. So what you got to do is you got to manage sales activities, not personalities and problems. Manage leads, not people, in other words. What does that mean? Here's what that means. If I'm going to hand you a $35, $55, or $75 lead, or even a $25 lead, I'm going to make sure you as my salesperson are doing the best job with that lead. I'm going to manage that lead all the way through. So when I hand it to you, you don't get it for 3 days, 5 days, or 10 days. You get it for 24 hours maximum. And here's what I expect. I expect conversion. I don't expect to hear, oh, I left 3 messages, haven't heard from them. If that happens, and I'm going to have somebody else leave 3 messages tomorrow, because what I've learned in sales is sometimes the wrong voice just doesn't get the right response. They may have said the right thing, but they may be saying it with the wrong tone, and that customer's not relating, and a different salesperson all of a sudden gets a better response for you. Here's the key. Quit managing people and problems. Manage sales and activities. Manage leads and processes. Manage your people to the results you want. I've said it a million times. If I said it once, one sale a day, one committed sale a day where you get somebody locked in, get their docs, and get them committed leads to 21 sales a month in the pipeline of your loan officers and an average 70% conversion rate, which is pretty much industry standard. That's 15 loans a month. And then focus on daily goals and daily principles and daily encouragement and daily checkpoints and daily meetings. Everything in sales leadership is about daily, not monthly. This is a common mistake that sales managers make, is they're all about the month-end results. And the problem is that month-end is too late. The month's over. I'm about every day. I'm going to get my people in the morning. We're going to set a goal in the morning for at least one sale today. We're going to have a morning meeting to get them excited about the day, get them encouraged, get them pumped up. We're then going to practice and role play before we ever get on the phone to call customers so that we're prepared, and then we're going to sell for a majority of the day. We're not going to sit around and look at our pipelines and look at our computer screens or play, something on our cell phones. We're going to sell for at least 4 hours out of the day. And I'm going to have my managers 3 times a day checking in with my people. How are you coming on your sales? What deals are you working on? What leads have you converted? What leads have you not converted? What have you done to try to convert the lead? How many messages have you left? We're asking all the right questions to inspect what we expect and then encouraging people throughout the course of the day. If you do those 3 things, get the right people, build the right environment, build the right accountability, and then give them the know-how. Because here's the key. They got to know how to do their job. That means you got to coach them and mentor them. Because we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, it's a habit. And your job as leaders, I want you to write this one word down. The word is replication. Your job is to replicate yourself through your people by teaching them what you did that made you a top salesperson, so they replicate that and they become a top salesperson and build that same habit. Now, if you want help from that with us, we have all kinds of online e-learning training. I do live training all over the country. We are your solution for sales training. If you need help with that, if you know how to do it, then do it and do it well. And make sure you get it done. But if you want to contact us, we'd love to talk to you more about that. And let me close with this, and then David, I'll open up for questions. I believe that success is a matter of understanding and religiously practicing specific, simple habits that always lead to success, just like Robert Ringer said. It's about having knowledge combined with practice that leads to habits. If you focus on those things, you win big, and you end up really succeeding at the end. And here's what I know. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You got to be disciplined in your leadership to make sure your salespeople get the very best they can out of everything that they're doing. So these principles, if applied well, will lead to outstanding leadership at the end of the day. And then I'm just going to close with one final thing. If you guys want to catch up with me, please follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, any one of those. Or you can send me an email if you got a question at dale@dalevermillion.com. We also want you to check out our not-for-profit charity. There's an old quote I love, says, in the end, each is to be judged by our standard of life, not our standard of living, our measure of giving, not our measure of wealth, and our simple goodness, not our seeming greatness. We started an organization in 2006 called Mortgage Professionals Providing Hope that raises funds for building orphanages around the world, putting people in homes that are homeless. We have literally housed 42 people in the last 3 months that were on the street, mostly single moms. And we are looking for companies to partner with. If you'd like to be a partner with us in helping those who can't help themselves, we'd love to talk to you about it. Statistics actually show that customers who buy, in 42% of the cases, they will buy just based on the fact that you have a charitable mindset as a company. So something I always love to mention at the end when we talk about leadership. So David, back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dale. So many great ideas out there, and I'd love to challenge everybody that's watching to come back to your screen. If you've navigated away, if you're taking notes, throw in a comment and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from today's webinar as we begin to take on some additional questions. But we'd love to hear your takeaways. What's something that you're going to implement or take action on? Because at the end of the day, it's not about a matter of what you know. It's a matter of what you do. And one thing, one small thing, eliminating one mistake that mortgage marketers are making that Jeff covered earlier, taking one specific principle. And, you know, both of these guys are, they have been down the path. They have successfully proven ways that this business doesn't grow to peak performance, and they have figured out some of the strategies, solutions, techniques, and tactics, and all the things in between to help this business to explode, not just grow, but to explode. And so for those of you that are watching today that are sticking around, or maybe you're watching a recording, reach out to Dale and Jeff and ask for more insights, because they have done what it is that most of you want to do, and they can help you to do it in a very effective manner. So Dale, quick follow-up question, and I'm going to throw it over to Jeff before we run out of time and talk about the one thing. We got 12 weeks, or a little bit shorter than 12 weeks before the end of the year. A lot of people kind of mail it in the last 12 weeks. They assume that people are busy over the holidays. They assume, well, I shouldn't do my mortgage marketing because it's the holiday season. I don't want to do a training because people are busy. We should be festive. Talk a little bit more about what peak performing companies and people are doing in the fourth quarter in comparison to what people think that they should be doing.
Well, I read a book years ago from a friend of mine named Scott Alexander called Rhinoceros Success. He talks about the difference between rhinos and cows. He makes a comparison between the two in the business world, that rhinos are just hard charging all the time. Well, when I know that everybody else is going to lay back and they're not going to be marketing, to me, that's exactly the time that you go after that aggressively. And here's the deal. I've seen some of my Decembers over the 35 years I've done this be the very best month we had the entire year, believe it or not, because we geared up in October, November to build a great December. So timing right now is critical to make sure that you are flooding the market for those opportunities, because here's what we know, particularly in the purchase market, we've been waiting for this inventory thing to correct, and it's starting to now, because we're seeing more new home construction. We're seeing more millennials that are out there. We're seeing more of the people selling to buy. We don't know that it's not going to be a fantastic November, December, January. We always have to assume it is and just market to that and really focus, laser focus at the end of the year on closing strong by making sure you're going after that market.
Great. Jeff, same question to you, but more on the marketing side, is that so many people are thinking about holding their marketing dollars and going after the first of the year. Talk a little bit more about what some of the top companies in your client list are doing in terms of investing marketing dollars to get that position in the marketplace in the fourth quarter.
Well, it's hard to compete with Santa Claus, but I like putting on my mailers that are dropping right now and all the way through November. Defer your December 1st house payment. I mean, if you got a $2,000 house payment and you don't have to make that payment December 1st, I might pay for Christmas. So we always do that this time of year, talk about cash out. A lot of people hold on to the mailer in December and call early January to refi, cash out, pay off credit cards that they racked up for Christmas time. It's funny, Dale just said record month in December. Last year we thought December might, some years it's been 70% of normal, and last year was our record month. Our biggest month ever was December. So mail, slows down a little bit for that 1 week between Christmas and New Year's, but the other first 2 weeks of December is strong, and January is usually pretty strong. So we're going strong through the rest of the year.
Great. Is there anything on the horizon, Jeff, that you think that is going to be coming in first quarter of 2018? Anything marketing specific that is kind of on the edge, whether it's innovation? I know that you've been doing some stuff with artificial intelligence and just a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of on the innovative side of marketing. Anything that you could share with the group?
Well, it's not the HARP replacement. I was kind of excited about the underwater mortgage program that they rolled out to replace HARP. What a joke that ended up being. That's not going to happen. But we do have some interesting things in the non-QM world right now. There's a lot of self-employed people that can't document income that are still out there with a 5.5%, 6.5%, 7.5% mortgage. I think that's going to come on pretty strong. We started dropping some direct mail for non-QM and seeing some decent response rates. Not huge, but 0.5% response, but big loan amounts and borrowers that are paying pretty high rates. So I'm kind of excited about the non-QM product we have. I think FHA VA conventional is going to continue. I'm also excited about some new purchase direct mail programs we're working on. Instead of mailing renters for their first-time buyer home, which are kind of nightmare borrowers and not real big loan amounts, we found a way to target the move-up buyers, which I'm pretty excited about. Mailing to somebody currently in a home that has to sell the house, wants to move into a bigger house. Pretty excited about that. Big loan amounts, real estate commissions, mortgage commissions. I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah, call, email me. We'll set up a time to talk.
Great. Jeff Bush at overflowworks.com was the email address to get Jeff's top 10 list of the mortgage marketing mistakes that are being commonly practiced on a regular basis in the world. And if you'd like to get more information about direct mail, internet leads, you name it, overflowworks.com is providing them. And Dale, a final question for you is that if you were to take one thing in the fourth quarter and train your team on in the mortgage world, what would be the number one training aspect that you think that most mortgage companies are completely overlooking that could really set up the end of the year as well as the next year as a performing year?
I would make them very good at outbound calling to support your marketing efforts. This is the number one mistake that I see, is that these guys are sitting around waiting for the mail to drop in, waiting for the leads to fall into their queue, and they're not going out and trying to generate behind those mail pieces or behind their marketing efforts a flow of business that comes in. Because you know as well as I do, when salespeople sit around for too long with nobody to talk to, when they finally do, they miss that opportunity. You want them constantly outbound calling to drum leads. So when the inbound leads come in, they're already well prepared and practiced, and they're hot, and they convert much better is what they do. So that would be the number one thing I would focus on.
Great. We call that sharpening the saw a little bit, right? When you sharpen the saw, things come a whole lot easier. So if you want to be a mortgage champion, go to mortgagechampions.com. Go check out Dale's stuff. If you want your leads to be overflowing, go to overflowworks.com. These two guys are rock stars. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jeff.